Welcome to Daily English Talk.
Welcome to today's deep dive. I want you to put yourself in a highly specific but universally stress-inducing scenario.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. You walk through a glass door, the little bell chimes, and you are immediately hit with the buzzing of clippers and the rhythmic snipping of scissors.
Right, the sounds alone just...
They set it off. You are directed to a leather chair, spun around to face a massive mirror, and a tight nylon cape is strapped around your neck. You are effectively trapped.
completely immobilized.
Exactly. And then the person holding the sharp implements looks at your reflection and asks the loaded question. So, what are we doing today?
It's honestly a moment of profound vulnerability. I mean, you are handing over control of your physical appearance to a complete stranger, and the only bridge between what you want and what you actually get is your ability to communicate clearly under pressure.
And for many of us, even navigating that conversation in our native language induces a mild state of panic.
Oh, absolutely.
But today, we are looking at the scenario through a completely different lens. Our deep dive is focused on a really fascinating script from an English language learning show called Daily English Talk. Specifically, we've got the script for their 5th episode, which is targeted at A1 to A2 learners.
Right, so people in the foundational stages of acquiring English.
Yeah, and our mission today is to extract the absolute best survival formulas from this script. Because it's not just about vocabulary, right? We're looking at the psychological strategies to avoid leaving a barbershop with a terrible haircut. Okay, let's unpack this by starting with a cautionary tale straight from our source material.
The famous Jack story.
Yes, the script features an anecdote about a guy named Jack who went to a new barber, sat in the chair, and when asked what he wanted, he just suffered a complete cognitive freeze.
A total system failure.
Totally. He just kept nervously repeating, yes, okay, sure, to every single question the barber asked. And he walked out with what the script describes as a mushroom haircut.
A mushroom cut. It's tragic, but it's so common.
It really is. And the thing is, he didn't fail because he lacked the vocabulary. He failed because his brain simply locked him out of his linguistic reserves.
What's fascinating here is how accurately that anecdote illustrates a core concept in linguistics known as the high effective filter.
Right.
Formulated heavily by the linguist Stephen Krashen, the effective filter hypothesis suggests that our emotional state acts as a literal barrier to language acquisition and production.
Like a physical wall goes up.
Exactly. When a learner is relaxed, that filter is low and cognitive processing flows smoothly. But when you introduce anxiety, self-consciousness, or a perceived threat.
Like sitting in a barber's chair struggling to understand a rapid-fire string of questions.
Right, exactly. That filter just spikes. And the neuroscience behind that spike is what really drives the point home. When the effective filter goes up, you are essentially experiencing a mild amygdala hijack.
Wow, amygdala hijack.
Yeah. The brain's threat detection center perceives the social risk of looking foolish or the physical risk of a terrible haircut as an immediate danger.
So it's literally survival mode.
Yes. This triggers a stress response that restricts access to the prefrontal cortex, which is exactly where you store newly acquired language skills. Jack didn't forget his English. His stressed-out brain temporarily blocked his access to it.
That makes so much sense. And the path of least resistance in that state of neurological lockdown is just compliance.
Exactly. Just say yes to make it stop.
That is exactly why Jack defaulted to yes, okay, sure. He was prioritizing immediate social survival over the actual outcome of the haircut.
He just wanted to get out of the chair.
Right. And the source material recognizes this biological reality and structures its entire lesson around mitigating that specific cognitive overload. It introduces what it calls survival formulas, which are built on the linguistic concept of functional chunks.
Functional chunks are a brilliant workaround for a high effective filter.
Let's break down the primary phrases to use. The script starts with the most basic request. I'd like a trim, please.
Yeah, the script calls this a functional chunk, and it's the safest phrase for beginners.
because you aren't trying to assemble it from scratch, right?
Exactly. Instead of teaching a learner the individual words for I would, like a and trim, and then demanding they apply grammatical rules to string them together in real time, it teaches the phrase as a single prefabricated block of meaning.
I love that. For you listening, you can think of this like a macro on a computer keyboard. You aren't typing out the individual lines of code. You are pressing one button to execute a complex command.
And bypassing working memory is the key advantage of that macro. By deploying a functional chunk, the learner drastically reduces the processing power required to communicate.
It's just plug and play.
Right. And a trim is the ultimate defensive maneuver because it establishes a strict boundary. It signals the barber to maintain the existing architecture of the haircut and just remove the overgrowth. It completely eliminates the need for complex, open-ended negotiation about style or shape.
It's like putting up a fence.
Okay.
But what if you need to be a bit more precise? The script moves from the static functional chunk to a modular framework it calls the specific template.
Ah, yes.
The primary example provided is just about an inch off the top.
Which is huge, because for an A2 learner, constructing spatial instructions from scratch is a nightmare. But this template provides a rigid syntactic structure with interchangeable variables.
That modularity is what gives the learner localized fluency.
Exactly. You memorize the frame, so amount off the location, and simply plug in the necessary data. If you operate in the metric system, you swap an inch for 2 centimeters.
Right. Highly customizable.
Yeah. And by specifying off the top, you are providing exact geographical instructions. You're stripping away all subjectivity. Because think about it, the word shorter is subjective.
Oh, totally. Shorter to one barber means a tiny bit, and to another, it means half your hair is gone.
Exactly. It requires the barber to interpret your intent.
Yeah.
An inch off the top is an objective parameter that leaves no room for artistic interpretation.
You are effectively building an artificial fence around your haircut, protecting yourself from both linguistic misunderstandings and overzealous scissors. Now, the source material also dives into the highly specialized jargon of the barbershop. So we're talking about tool talk.
Tool talk, yeah.
Terminology like tapered, where the hair gets shorter as it goes down toward the neck, versus using clippers, which are the electric haircutting machines.
But again, it's not teaching these as mere vocabulary words. It's teaching them as tools to manipulate the interaction.
Let's talk about the numbers game, too. The clipper guards.
The guards are crucial.
Number 1 means very short, like almost bald, whereas the number 3 or 4 provides a very common, clean look.
And taking that a step further, domain-specific jargon like guard numbers serves a very specific sociolinguistic function. When a learner asks for a number 3 on the sides, they are deploying localized shorthand.
It sounds like you know what you're doing.
Precisely. Right. And this external validation subsequently helps lower the learner's affective filter.
It creates an illusion of fluency that actually facilitates real communication. Okay, what about the phrase, thin it out? The script explicitly categorizes this as a pragmatic strategy for people with thick hair.
This is a crucial distinction for anyone trying to master a new skill. Pragmatics in linguistics focuses on the context and the actual outcome of the speech act, rather than the literal semantic translation of the words.
So, meaning over-literal translation.
Right. The distinction between pragmatics and semantics is vital here. If you have thick hair and you want the bulk removed without altering the length, translating your desire word for word into a foreign language could result in a disaster.
You might just chop it all off.
Exactly. Thin it out is an idiomatic functional request. The learner doesn't need to know the mechanics of texturizing shears. They only need to know the pragmatic phrase that triggers the barber to use them.
And the script applies this same pragmatic approach to the neckline debate. It contrasts a squared neckline, which creates a straight horizontal line, with a natural one that follows the hair's growth.
Right. And knowing that the natural neckline is currently viewed as the more contemporary style isn't just a fashion tip.
No, it's cultural capital.
Exactly. It's a piece of cultural capital.
Yeah.
When an A2 learner requests a natural fade at the neckline, they are participating in a localized cultural norm, which anchors them more firmly in the interaction.
And then finishing it off with just a little bit of wax just seals the deal.
It really does.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The source material is self-aware enough to acknowledge that sometimes, despite all the functional chunks, the modular templates, and the pragmatic strategies, the effective filter still wins.
Yeah, cognitive overload is sometimes just unavoidable. You can memorize the template perfectly in your living room, but the moment the clippers turn on, your working memory just gets wiped.
So what happens if you forget all this vocabulary?
To counter this, the script introduces the visual input strategy.
Pictures.
Yes, it's an exercise in multimodal communication. Research shows photos are the best communication bridge. The instruction is simple. Always have a reference photo saved on your phone.
It is the ultimate failsafe. If the linguistic bridge collapses, you rely on the visual bridge. Multimodal communication recognizes that language is only one channel for transferring information. By holding up a photo and saying, "I'd like it to look like this," the learner completely bypasses their own linguistic limitations.
And the visual anchor neutralizes the anxiety for both parties. Think about it. The barber no longer has to decipher a struggling learner's intent, and the learner no longer bears the cognitive burden of describing a three-dimensional shape using a second language vocabulary.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of prioritizing the functional outcome over the method of delivery.
Now, briefly, the script also touches on the sociolinguistic context of the venue itself, the whole barbershop versus hair salon distinction.
Right, which is important for managing expectations.
Barbershops are traditionally for men and shorter clipper-based styles. Salons are for women, longer hair, and coloring. Though, many places do both today.
But understanding the traditional dichotomy is still useful. Different environments operate on different conversational scripts. Entering the correct environment means the baseline assumptions align with your goals, which reduces the amount of friction in the negotiation.
And once that initial high-friction negotiation is over, once the photo has been shown, the template has been used, and the cutting actually begins, the dynamic shifts entirely, doesn't it?
It shifts entirely. The script points out that the inevitable small talk about the weather or local sports, which honestly many introverts dread,
Oh, I hate it.
is actually a golden opportunity for low-stakes practice.
The framing there is incredibly insightful. The interaction is phased. Phase 1 is the high-stakes negotiation where errors have permanent physical consequences. But Phase 2, the execution phase, is a low-stakes sandbox. The course is already set. The barber is just executing the plan. If you mess up your verb tenses while discussing the rain, it doesn't impact the haircut.
Exactly. The effective filter naturally drops during phase 2 because the perceived threat has passed. For a language learner or anyone trying to practice a new interpersonal skill, recognizing these low-stakes windows is crucial to building conversational confidence. You have a captive audience, a relaxed environment, and zero consequences for failure. It is the optimal condition for active acquisition.
Okay, so the source material gives us the theory, the chunks, the multimodal strategies, and the environmental awareness. But knowledge without application is just trivia.
Right, you have to practice.
The final section of the script provides a concrete framework for internalizing all of this. It frames it as the mission of the week, focusing on two methods: shadowing and soliloquizing.
Shadowing involves listening to a native speaker and mimicking their rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation as closely as possible, almost concurrently.
And soliloquizing is the act of speaking your thoughts out loud to yourself.
Exactly. And the script merges these by instructing the learner to stand in front of a bathroom mirror, pretend to talk to a world-famous stylist, and use the formulas we've discussed. I'd like a trim, take an inch off the top, and ask, could you thin it out? Or, what do you recommend?
The exact task is brilliant. The mirror is the catalyst. It forces you to maintain eye contact with yourself while speaking a foreign language. It artificially simulates the self-consciousness of the salon chair. You have to watch your own mouth form unfamiliar phonetic shapes. But the truly grueling part of the assignment is the final step. You must record the exercise on your phone and listen back to it.
Oh, it's brutal. The script coins a phenomenal term for this process: awkward therapy.
Awkward therapy. I love that.
It's so accurate. Listening to a recording of your own voice is universally uncomfortable for most people, even in their native tongue. When you add the layer of a developing imperfect second language, the cringe factor is just exponential.
Oh, I can only imagine.
The dissonance between how you think you sound in your head and the objective reality of the recording is a massive source of anxiety.
And that dissonance is exactly what feeds the affective filter in the real world. When a learner speaks and hears a cadence that feels entirely foreign, it triggers that same self-conscious threat response. So awkward therapy is essentially systematic desensitization.
Right. It is a form of exposure therapy where you force yourself to confront the objective reality of your current skill level in a private, controlled environment. By repeatedly exposing yourself to your own imperfect phonetic profile, you neutralize the shock. You strip the anxiety away from the sound of your own voice.
It's not about being perfect then.
Not at all. The goal of awkward therapy isn't to magically achieve perfect pronunciation. The goal is to become incredibly bored by your own mistakes. Once you are desensitized to the awkwardness, your cognitive bandwidth is freed up to focus entirely on the pragmatic communication.
Because you've processed the cringe in your bathroom, so you don't have to process it in the barber's chair. This brings us full circle to Jack and his mushroom haircut. Jack's failure wasn't linguistic, it was psychological.
He hadn't done his awkward therapy.
Exactly. He hadn't desensitized himself to the discomfort of the interaction, so his brain initiated a shutdown to protect him from the awkwardness. Let's pull all of this together. Whether you are learning English or just trying to get a better haircut in your own language, specific templates and visual inputs are the keys for avoiding a lawnmower-style disaster. First, recognize that stress limits your cognitive processing, and counter it by preparing functional chunks and modular templates. Build a rigid fence around your request. Second, never hesitate to use multimodal communication. If words fail, rely on the visual input strategy. Show them a picture.
Always have a backup plan.
Third, map out the interaction. Identify the high-stakes negotiation phase versus the low-stakes execution phase, and use that low-stakes window for practice. And finally, rely on systematic desensitization through awkward therapy.
So what does this all mean?
It means that competence in a high-anxiety environment is rarely about spontaneous brilliance.
Right. It means you can take control of high-anxiety situations through simple preparation. It is almost always the result of engineering the interaction to reduce your own cognitive load, preparing for those inevitable spikes in your affective filter, and being willing to face your own awkwardness head-on before you ever walk through the glass door.
You know, the mechanics of awkward therapy offer a profound blueprint for growth that extends far beyond just linguistics.
Oh, for sure. The source material uses it to help learners get used to their own English-speaking voices. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the threshold to mastery in almost any discipline is guarded by a period of intense, visible incompetence.
Nobody likes being bad at things.
Right. But what other areas of your life are currently stagnating simply because you are unwilling to endure your own awkward therapy? I'd leave you with this question to ponder. Where might forcing yourself to objectively confront the uncomfortable reality of your early attempts, whether that means recording your public speaking, filming your golf swing, or reviewing your own flawed code, be the exact desensitization process required to unlock your next level of proficiency?
That is a phenomenal question to ponder as we wrap up today's analysis. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go implement your own awkward therapy, prepare your modular templates, and whatever you do, protect yourself from the mushroom cut. We will catch you on the next one.